think we can go ahead and start our community call. So welcome everybody. Welcome to the OpenFGA community meeting. We're August by now, and it's still 2024. So let's look at the agenda for this call. We'll start with our usual introductions. Then we'll go over what we just shipped, an OpenTelemetry demo, and we'll talk about our current and future work so you know what we're working on and what's coming up. And we'll end with some community news and an opportunity to ask questions to the OpenFGA team, which are present in this call. The OpenFGA team, there's a lot of people dedicating a lot of their time to make OpenFGA as awesome as it is. So thank you everybody on this slide, and thank you everybody that contributes to the project. We really appreciate all the efforts. So let's do some introductions. We usually start with introductions to people that are new to this call or people that have joined before but want to introduce themselves to the rest of the people in here. And I'll set an example and introduce myself. So hey everybody, my name is Sam Bellen. I'm based in Belgium, and I'm part of the Auth0 by Okta team. I'm interested in OpenFGA because, well, I think it's a really cool project, and authorization is the next frontier in making sure our applications stay secure. So where am I in my OpenFGA adoption story? I've used it, I've played around with it, I've created some content around it, but I'm still learning something every day, and being able to talk to all these people in this call that are building it, maintaining it, improving it is really, really helpful for me. So if there's somebody else in here that feels like they want to introduce themselves, go ahead. We're all nice people. So unmute yourself and introduce yourself. And if you don't feel comfortable, that's also perfectly fine. We can continue if that's the case.
I'll go ahead and say a little hello there. I'm Evan, Evan Sims. I work on OpenFGA here at Okta. And yeah, I live a couple hours south of Chicago and joined the FGA team back in January. And yeah, I've been having a blast working on it. I think it's a super interesting project because we're solving some really tough challenges that no one's quite figured out yet. And it's, yeah, I've had a lot of fun working on it. So that's me.
Thank you, Evan. Do you have another volunteer that wants to introduce themselves, or are you all interested in what else we have to talk about today? I'll take that as, and I'm interested in all the other things we want to talk about. So let's continue. Let's start with what we just shipped, what we shipped in the last month. We have a new version of OpenFGA 1.5.8, which has a few new additions. First of all, there's query consistency options. I think that's a really cool new addition to OpenFGA. And we've made improvements to the OpenID Connect authentication, especially multiple issuers and subject validation. So thank you very much, Code2Life, for these additions. We've made some other performance improvements. We're always working on performance improvements, and I'm happy that there's some more in this new release. And of course, there's always some bug fixes, so that happened as well. We've also added support for OpenTelemetry metrics in our Python and JavaScript SDKs. Java and Go are coming next and are being worked on. And we have a new Helm chart. Thank you to the people that worked on this as well. We appreciate your contributions. So that's all that we've shipped in the last month or so. So let's talk about these performance improvements, because I mentioned we shipped some in the latest version of OpenFGA. But Andres, you might have some more details on what we actually did improvement-wise.
Yeah. So in the last meeting, we reported a few improvements. I'm not going to repeat them this time again, so you can look at them in the slides from the previous meeting that are in the agenda. So we in this specific scenario, so we are kind of going through several scenarios that depending on the different models, that model construct that we have, and trying to improve one by one, doing certain patterns that we are applying everywhere. And in this specific one, we had improved the performance when the user wasn't assigned to any group. So we were getting a no answer, or it was assigned to the last batch of the last group or the last set of groups, and in the list of groups that we got. And now we improve it only also when it's assigned to the first set, in the first set of groups, right? So the performance improvements for this specific scenario weren't as great in the previous version of OpenFGA. That right now performance is 6 times better or 5 times better depending on P50 to P99 on this specific use case. So that keeps adding to the performance improvements we've been building. And then if you go to the next slide, this is a scenario that we focused in the last month. We call it a computer user set. The idea there is if you see allowed there, it has a reference to the bio members relation in groups, and that relation is not a direct assignment; it's a computed relationship. And so in that use case, we also saw a lot of improvements in all of the scenarios, like from depending on the P19 on the level of latency, like up to nine times or 5 times. So this is also very good. And we are going to keep working on this. So if you go to the next slide, there's a couple of scenarios we're going to keep improving on check. And then we're going to apply the same optimization for list objects and list users. And one of the ones we are going to be working on next is, if you can go to the next slide, is this one, right? When you have a relationship that is recursive, so you can have members to be group members to be members of a group. And this one still doesn't have these optimizations, and then we're gonna hopefully get the same level of performance increase and this one too. And we have a few more that we know that we can improve, and we're gonna go through them and start sharing them with you when we articulate better the use case and the performance improvements that we're getting. I don't know if any in the call was able to update to the latest version and saw an improvement, but if you have at some moment, please let us know in Slack so we can I can pass the good news to the team and see that those efforts are paying into people who is using OpenFGA. We've also seen, so as you know, at Okta, we have a product that we run in the cloud for this. We've seen a decrease in all of the latency numbers in that product, obviously, because this uses this core, right? But that's a place where we can actually monitor and see the results. So we've seen an impact there too.
Thank you, Andres. And who doesn't love some performance improvements? I think we all do, right? So thank you. It's really nice to see these improvements, and we'll keep on working on some more. Next up, we have something to say about OpenTelemetry, don't we, Evan?
We do indeed. Thank you, Sam. Let me...
Do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, I think that would probably be easiest here. Let me pull it up here. All right, can you all see that okay? My slide deck there? Cool.
All good.
Awesome. All right. Well, so today I wanted to talk a bit about a new feature we've been building out, which is support for OpenTelemetry in our SDKs. If you're not familiar with OpenTelemetry, it's a open source, vendor neutral, it's a framework set of APIs, SDKs, tools, really a collection of all sorts of goodies there that really just help you get a deeper look into your application, how it's performing, really helpful in troubleshooting problems like, where is latency, things like that. So we're rolling it out right now across our SDKs. Like Sam mentioned, we have initial releases for Python and JavaScript available now. So run out and grab those. We have new releases for Go, .NET, and Java, also including support, which is going to be rolling out over next week or two. So please look forward to that. Initially, we're having support in there for metrics. OpenTelemetry also supports logging and tracing, and we're going to be looking at that later, but we want to get feedback on metric support first. So out of the box, we have a number of really helpful, what we think you'll find helpful counters and histograms, different metric types that support request and query iterations, tracking client credential requests, things like that. And we also have a assortment of attributes or tags that you can opt into collecting. Things like how many retries did it take for a HTTP request to succeed, store and model identifiers, user identifiers where appropriate, that kind of thing. Today, I just wanted to quickly take you through how you might use this integration in a Python app. Again, we're going to have this across all our SDKs, but Python's an easy one to sort of illustrate this with. So yeah, I'm just going to break it down sort of step by step here for you, since it really only takes 5 steps, and it's really very simple. So beginning with the obvious, you need to install the OpenFGA Python SDK in this case, and of course the OpenTelemetry SDK, and they have a concept for what's called an exporter. So you want to find an exporter that's appropriate for how you want to collect your metrics. Like any Python app, you need to import those libraries. In this case, it's our SDK up top there, and then the relevant OpenTelemetry SDK classes, namespaces, all that good stuff. This is just boilerplate. It's your standard Python app with OpenFGA support, but yeah, you can't get there without that. So there's nothing new there, but yeah, now the new thing is you need to configure OpenTelemetry for your backend, which is really just initializing your exporter that you chose. In this case, I have like the console exporter, so you can actually see the output in your console really easily without having to use another set of tools. Define your service name, standard stuff. OpenTelemetry has some great documents on getting this set up on their website. And then finally, yeah, after you tell your app to actually configure telemetry, like we did in the last step there, you just use the SDK like you normally would, and boom, it just starts collecting metrics, as you can see down there. And I believe that's Grafana. So yeah, it's honestly ridiculously simple, and it works really well. Yeah, we think you're going to like it. In this example, we were using, I guess, Prometheus and Grafana in this case for the demo, but there's a smorgasbord of vendors out there with options. So lots of great tools to play with there and use. And of course, really popular services like Datadog support consuming OpenTelemetry as well. Yeah, aside from that, like I said, Python, JavaScript available today. Give it a try. Let us know your thoughts. Go, Java, and .NET we're upping those up right now. Rolling out there over the next week or two. And yeah, please do star and follow those repositories if you're interested, so you can follow along with the development. And yeah, we want your feedback. And if you have any contributions for improvements, it's very much appreciated as always. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Evan. Who doesn't like some metrics from time to time? I think we all do, especially at certain times. But Andres or Rocket, did you have some other things you wanted to tell about OpenTelemetry or ask the people in this call for feedback?
Hello. Yes, so telemetry is the first part sorry, metrics is the first part of the bigger telemetry epic we're working on. The other two major things being tracing and logging. Now, we have decided, at least for now, not to have custom tracing enabled in our SDKs. So allowing, you can still enable tracing but through auto, you can have the auto setup. So you can configure tracing in your app. Everything will work normally. However, the traces will not have cleaned data. So your traces will not have store ID and some useful things like this. We think that would be good enough for now, especially for how people will be using tracing. They'll have other, you'll have the URL host, so you can tell the store ID from there. So we would like your feedback. If that works for you, that doesn't work for you, let us know. Mainly, this is also available for most of the SDKs. I believe there's Go is the only one where this is not possible, and for that we will be doing something custom. But try out. I mean, if you do try out the automate tracing, you can read about it all in how to set it up in OpenTelemetry documentation, and we'll probably find some and link them on the CNCF channel. So if you're on the CNCF channel, we'll probably post this question and link the docs and ask you for your feedback. So let us know if the automated setup without us doing anything custom works for you. That would be great. That means we don't have to do unnecessary work. If it doesn't work for you, also let us know why and what else would you like. And the same goes for metrics. If any of the metrics, like you want more metrics than what we are emitting, also let us know what's the use case and what's the metric you would like. Andres, do you have anything else you would like to add to that? And basically that's it. So if anyone right now has an opinion, let us know. Otherwise, we can move on.
Thank you. So is there anybody that has some opinion on this, that wants to give us some feedback on why they do want tracing, or if they're okay with the approach that we're taking right now? This is your time, but we'll ask the question again in the CNCF slide, like Rahed mentioned before. No volunteers, all good. Let's continue with the slides that we have. What's coming up? What's in progress? Let's start with what is in progress. We're working on additional consistency options for OpenFGA queries. As we've mentioned before, we're still implementing telemetry, OpenTelemetry in certain SDKs like the .NET, the Java, and the Go SDK. We're working on some performance improvements like Andres mentioned when he went over the ones that we did last month. And what's coming up. So we're working on some performance improvements for OpenFGA queries and some additional OpenFGA API authorization options. What's coming next? Integration with Envoy, really interesting, that one. Simplify search with permissions for large cardinality relations. I think I pronounced that more or less correct, so yay. And batch checks for OpenFGA server. But as always, this is public on our GitHub roadmap. So if you're interested or want to see this again, go to the GitHub roadmap and you'll find all the details and all of the issues linked here on the roadmap. So some community news. This is a community meeting after all. First of all, we're still running the community survey. So if you have feedback for us, if you want to help us improve OpenFGA, feel free to scan the QR code or go to the link on the slide and tell us what you like, how you use OpenFGA and so forth, so we can improve OpenFGA and also keep your opinions, your feedback, your use cases into consideration whenever we build out new features or improvements to the product. So I think we're still running it for this week. So if you want to help us out, please fill in the community survey. Thank you. We finished the joint assessment with the joint security assessment with the CNCF Tech Security Group. It's available on GitHub. So if you're interested in that, the link is on the bottom. So you can go and read all about the assessment. And one of our developer advocates, Kaya, will be presenting at SOSS Fusion in Atlanta, Georgia. So if you're in the area in October, feel free to join her talk. She'll talk about OpenFGA, which is always something that's cool to hear. And we've added a few more adopters to the adopters.md file. Bump and Patika Global Technologies have added themselves. So thank you very much. If you are an adopter and you are not part of the adopters.md file, feel free to open a pull request and add yourself, because we always want to know the companies and people that are using OpenFGA. And related to that adopters.md file, we've also added a new section, a section for companies offering OpenFGA implementation services. These can be companies that help others implement OpenFGA. So if this is something that you identify with, if this is a company you work for or you own, then feel free to open a pull request and add yourself to this list as well. This will help other people with implementing OpenFGA, if they need the extra resources or the extra help. Which brings us to the time where we give you the time to ask questions to the team, because there's a bunch of people that are part of the OpenFGA team in this call. So if you have any questions, now is your time to unmute yourself or type in the chat, and we'll answer them here on the call. And as I'm trying to find my chat, because Zoom has hid it, I'll give you all some time. No questions, that's fine. If you do have some questions later on, you can always reach us in the CNCF Slack channel, the OpenFGA CNCF Slack channel. Which brings me to my last slide of this call. We used to be on Discord, on the Audio Labs Discord, but are part of the CNCF since quite some time now, and have a dedicated OpenFGA Slack channel in the CNCF Slack. So if you want to reach the team, if you have questions, if you have feedback, feel free to join the CNCF Slack and our OpenFGA channel. We will be happy to help you there, or talk to you, or just connect with you. You can do that through slack.cncf.io, and I hope to see you all in the Slack channel. This was this last slide that we have. It's going to be a short call today, I guess, but is there anybody that still wants to add something to the meeting today, has something to say, has something to ask? I'll give you another opportunity to do that. If that's a no, then thank you everybody for joining this call. I hope to see you again in September when we have the next edition of our community meeting. And have a great day.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks all.